are you a 3-time black belt? Is that what it is?
Three different styles, and it's interesting. I have a marketing company, so I'm hearing all these are marketing goals, some of these things. I mean, it's not. I know that's not the intention, but it's like, wow, this really. I wanted to talk about not just why Wing Chun, but why this Wing Chun, because I started out in martial arts, as maybe a lot of you that have martial arts, with Korean, the Taekwondo, because those schools are kind of on every corner, or at least when I was growing up, that's the most common kind of martial arts school you'd see. And I got into it initially because I was like a late bloomer in school, and I was a smaller kid when I started school, and my dad played football, and he encouraged me to get into football to kind of like find my balance and be okay with being physical and stuff. And I remember the first time I did Pop Warner football, and as a little kid, and I remember the first time I put on the pads and I got hit, I was really scared. And I was like, because I didn't grow up in a bad home, I grew up in a great home, and it's like there was just, nothing but love in my home. But I got hit, and I was like, man, and then, but after a while, after I got hit some more, something completely changed, and I really liked the contact, because I realized it was like a test of who I was. And if I could push the fear down a little bit, I could become stronger that way. So that was kind of what got me into wanting to do Taekwondo, and also because that was kind of the only martial art back then that was really familiar. Started doing that, and like a lot of you that have done that, realized that it really was a business, and memorized kind of choreography routines, breaks and boards, here's your certificate, kind of thing. But I also did like that there was some focus on movement and some angles and things, and I started to kind of like seek out what other arts were out there. And I thought to myself, and after I got my black belt in Taekwondo, I thought, okay, we were next door to a Hapkido school, which is another Korean art, similar but more on the combat side, more leverages, judo, locks, things like that, more restrained control type moves, more applicable to kind of grabbing and things like that. I felt more suited to combat, and I was kind of drawn to less sport and wanted to seek out the combat side. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get in a fight, I don't want to be a sport fight. So Hapkido was like the logical one at the time for me to go in and kind of learn the combative side. So I did that for another 5-6 years, got a black belt in Hapkido, and then ended up teaching Hapkido as an instructor. And it was great, because I felt like I would break things down in a way and help people learn, and that was real rewarding for that class. But I felt like after my black belt, I felt like, okay, this is it. This is kind of it. And I thought there's got to be more out there, because I'm starting to see kind of the emergence of MMA and all these other things, and of course also the Chinese arts. And I had seen things like people doing the wooden dummy, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. And from an immature brain, I'm looking at all that stuff going, that's cool, just you could kick ass and stuff, And so then I started thinking, okay, well, what about Chinese arts? And I found out, I was talking to people that were military and things like that, and they talked about Sansu, Kung Fu. And they said that a lot of the SEALs and some of the Spec Ops guys did Sansu, so I went and I did Sansu. And nothing wrong with Sansu, it was great, but it reminded me a lot of Hapkido. It's just kind of combatives, and it was good angles, and it was good practice and things like this. But I was like, man, there's something that needs to be more. And then through some other people, I met a good friend that did a Shaolin style, had a grandmaster from China, Shaolin guy, Shaolin 6th generation Shaolin guy, and did a lot of work with energy. And the energy stuff they did like super impressed me. And that was like the first time I felt some type of, it was kind of like the ball type exercise, but it was the first time I kind of felt like, man, there is maybe more to this. And this guy was a real experienced guy, had done the route. He goes, look, the Chinese arts are never ending, and that's kind of why I got into that. But when we sparred, it reminded me of the sparring I had done in the other arts again. So like I liked the energy part, but then I was like, man, there's got to be more. And so then I'm like, well, I'm still on the combatives journey. I'm looking at other styles. got introduced to Sistema, Russian martial art. And again, a lot of energy, but very emphasis on combat and things like that. I liked that as well. The movements were real fluid, which I liked. And then around about that same time, through some other people that I met, and I just kept networking and kept searching and stuff, I ran into the Jeet Kune Do progressive fighting, which is, and this was a guy that is a real high-level kind of celebrity in the martial arts world. He, in the 90s, trained SEAL Team 6. He developed his own fighting system for them. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. He also was Dan Inosanto's top student, used to train Bruce Lee's son, Brandon. So this guy was like legit. Went and trained with him, private lessons at his home for a long period of time, ended up becoming a black belt with him and becoming an instructor and helping other guys in combatives. And they did all kinds of weapons and other stuff too. But the weird thing is inside, I'm still thinking, man, I feel like there's still more. And I don't know why, but they had these group events that was happening once a year. And all these people from other countries would fly in and train at this guy's house. And they were all disciplined in all types of art. So I mean, I've had exposure to just about, maybe, I shouldn't even say just about, I probably had exposure to every martial art there is. And one of the people that was a bodyguard for a few famous celebrities, I would train with him, and his favorite art was Wing Chun. And he was actually pretty good at it. And it was, even though I had already got my black belt, with this other guy, I was like, man, his hands are amazing. And they're soft, and I never know where this guy's coming from. And he was always like 2 moves ahead of me, and I'm like, this is kind of the thing. And so now I kind of was zoned in on what I wanted. And so I thought, okay, I know we're wrapping this up. We're getting to Wing Chun. And then we're going to get to why this Wing Chun. So then I sought out a mission to find like the #1 Wing Chun guy I could find in Orange County. And I went on Google because I didn't know. And I didn't. And at the time, the guy that seemed to kind of be appearing everywhere was this guy that I went to train with. And I went and did private lessons at his house every day. And right before I'd go into my office, I'd be there at 7 a.m. training with him. And then, we'd drink tea and all this other stuff. And supposedly he was a Wing Chun master for 40 years and all this other stuff. We trained together. And I thought, okay. But I still felt like, man, there's some cool stuff that I learned, but it wasn't like this guy that I trained with, the bodyguard guy. And then, and I had driven by the Dragon Institute like, I don't know how many millions of times. And this guy, unfortunately, was dishonest with me and told me that Adam was one of his students. Or I would have come in and met Adam a lot sooner. But he told me Adam was one of his students, and I thought, well, I'm already training with the guy that taught him. Why would I, And he was closer to my house. I lived literally down the street at the time in Dana Point. I could have like skateboarded down the hill. And I just kept continuing to drive all the way over into Irvine area to train with this other guy. Because I'm like, because that's what I thought was the truth. And so, and I don't know, one of these days I'm just going to go in there. And I went in there and I met Adam and I was like, and it was a great place. I mean, like the place is beautiful and super great rapport. Like immediately I just felt like, wow, this is just like a great culture here. The energy was like awesome. And I could just pick up on the fact that everybody wasn't like paid actors. They really were into it. And he's like, well, come back for a class. So I came back for a class, and that's what hooked me. Because the first guy that I sparred with was Bruce, and he kicked my ass. And it was like, and then I was going around and training with other students, and they were all kicking my ass. And I was like, I came in with a little chip on my shoulder. I thought, man, I know some stuff, right? At multiple black belts. I've trained, and not just black belts, but through the top guys I could find, in the top arts I could find. And here I am getting whooped by guys that weren't senior students. I mean, some of the guys that were killing me in sparring were like, they've been with Adam a few months. And I'm just like, there is something to this. And so rather than get sad and just leave, because that was one option, right? I'm like, damn, this sucks, right? But I thought to myself, that I need to learn this. This is it. And then, and I will tell you, not to make it sound easy at all, because this is like the most difficult thing that I've done, because I learned through the combination of all the external stuff I've done. I had to retrain everything and really get into the internal and really realize that that's something that I needed to do to progress. And without doing that, there was no improvement for me. So that's still a journey. it's still something that I'm working on every day, and it's still something I'm learning and appreciating from every day. But one of the things that I will tell you is, without question, if you were collecting black belts like me and you're looking for like the very best stuff out there, and you're literally on a quest to find the ultimate of the ultimate, it's here. And it's not just Wing Chun, but it's Wing Chun at the Dragon Institute. And the reason I say that is because most of the other Wing Chun out there, they don't teach the important stuff. The important stuff is the little detail stuff. The detail stuff in Wing Chun, you miss the details, you miss it all. You miss the whole thing. You'll miss the art entirely. And even on videos, it's weird. You'll see videos and it'll look like they're doing similar things. But until you feel the difference and until you dial in those details, it is the exact opposite, and it will not help you. So that's it. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have my brothers and sisters, my family here. So thank you, everybody.